Well,
things.
that McMartin preschool was in Manhattan Beach. Well, I grew up in PV, so like Palos Verdes, Redondo
Hmm.
Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, and the like that happened in the '80s, and the trials were like like from like while I was in middle school, all that stuff like it was plastered around there. So like all of that became like a like it was just really like I remember kind of that pre McMartin like this yeah it was just a really interesting kind of time. It's it's like here in Texas there's all this awful shit, all this stuff at the border, which just is like I don't even know how you even tackle all this, but like the one that's most disheartening is these kids are coming across and they're just disappearing, and they're like whether they're being trafficked or whatnot. I mean, like I don't even know. Like I have a buddy who's pretty high up in the Texas National Guard, and we were getting into all this and the cartels using these people as decoys and this and I mean, it's just the most horrific humanitarian problem ever is happening at the Texas border, and like they just like there's I don't know what the solution for it is, but like that's something that's very real happening, and I it's and like so this is another issue you go back to, right? Like
It's
so for
heartbreaking. Let's just say
it is, yeah.
it's heartbreaking.
And I don't know, and I don't hear any good like options on like or even like I don't even know how people tackle this. You have hundreds of thousands of people coming across that are like fleeing for a better life, but like and and the problem is there's no way to bring them here legally because once the government's involved, the red tape. I have friends that have been on a list for 20 years. So like they basically what they have to do is take the government out of it. They have to privatize it and put somebody in place to figure this thing out. You probably have to like create a wall at the border and create a line and start organizing this thing. You just can't like let people come across and then all of a sudden the cartels over here are picking these people up and this and these kids are getting trafficked, and it's just like all of a sudden there's like 3 million kids that came across that they don't know where they are. I mean, it's like it's there's some like real problems, but for a long time, like I mean, with social media, we have so much more optic on this, and like the news cycle is 24 hours, and it's thrown in our faces. That like if I didn't have the perception of what we did when we were kids, I don't know if I would even be able to process this much information. Like it feels overwhelming to the point where like, I get hundreds of DMs a day from people. Like I like, there's just stuff you can't even respond to. We have Discord set up for Power Athlete in our programs, and I try to manage that, but it's just like, it's kind of overwhelming in a lot of ways. So, I mean, for me with social media, like I'm kind of active, but not really. I'll do it for a little spurt, and I got to take little breaks, just because it like it just feels overwhelming. I wonder if that's my age, or the
No.
fact that like I inherently have a lot of shit to do. So like stopping every 5 minutes to document everything that I'm doing in my life to somehow share it with a whole bunch of people that I don't know always feels weird to me. But then like, the people that work for me are like, oh, you did a lot of cool stuff today. And I was like, yeah, well, I had to take the last few days off because I had to build covers for not only like, make a little makeshift stall for my daughter's horse. And then, we had to do like make pool equipment. And, I can, there's probably a lot of shit that people be like, oh, that's cool. But, I'm fucking doing it. Like
Yeah.
it's not like, hey, look at me, I'm selfing this shit up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
somebody shot me something the other day, and they were like, hey, how come you don't film and post all your workouts? And I was like, because we work out at 6 a.m, and it's kind of my time to kind of bang weights and just have fun and like not have to like feel that like everything I do has to be somehow documented for content.
You get to keep some of it for you.
Yeah, it's and that's kind of where I like is pretty interesting with NFL players today. And I was kind of going back, like, just because it's like I follow the Kansas City Chiefs, so the amount of like Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift stuff that's getting thrown at me kind of breaks my heart for those people, those two a little bit. In that, like, here's these two people in their 30s, right? He's like a 10-year player,
Mm-hmm.
she's like 34, which
Mm-hmm.
is not young by any means. Like the fact that they're in
No.
their like mid 30s and they've never been married, they don't have kids, is kind of a little weird. Like, I mean, I was married with kids by the time I was, she's well past like 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 it's not like she's like 20 something and he's 20 something, and they're treating these people like these like young. It's just so weird to me. I just see them, and like everywhere they go there's pictures, like they go to dinner and I'm like, they don't have any privacy to effectively develop like who they are. And there's people writing this, and I see them. I like feel bad for them. I'm like, shit, like that level of like optics on those people. Like, how would they ever basically hide? Like, I guess you got to hide in your house and make sure your relationship is really good, because the minute you step out, people are going to write an article about, oh my god, they didn't come out of the house at the same time, they must be in a fight. Or like, I'm like blown away. I feel so terrible for these people. And then they, they do smart stuff. Like they go to like parties and they rent out, restaurants, they do stuff, but there's always like somebody shooting. It just, I don't know. I think a lot of times, like if you think about like plants, for example, right? Like you plant like you plant a garden, right? You put the seed in
Mm-hmm.
there and you water it and you water it. Like it doesn't come out of the ground until it's already pretty well formed. And like I feel like a lot of things have to kind of grow in kind of the dark and silence. Like a lot of the training I did, was when nobody was around. Like, I remember I was in high school and I was obsessed with running faster. So I went to the library and I bought a book on speed. And one of the ways they said to get faster was to run downhill, overspeed. So I drove around my neighborhood. I was 16, looking for the perfect 3 to 5 degree angle to run downtown, or to run downhill. I finally found it, and I like on a Saturday was out there, set up cones, and I'm sprinting and trying to run down fast to try to work on this overspeed. And like my friends drive by, and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to get faster." And they were just like shook their head and they drove. But that was something that, I was out there by myself. I didn't call anybody. I checked this book out and I wanted to figure it out. And I was trying to run as fast as I can. And like that. But there was like a lot of kind of interesting pieces of like, I wouldn't say shame, but like feeling like I need to be better. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to be there to hold my hand. So you got to figure this stuff out. So I
Yep.
feel like there's always been this kind of burning desire to try to be the best version and try to figure it out. And I can't imagine if every time I did anything, it was plastered all over social media and this. But then again, like that's what happens when you're a billionaire and you have followers like Swifties and stuff. So I guess it's like the trade off you make. But I look at that and it's just wild. Like I follow like the Chiefs because I was like, stoked that they got to play in a super cold game. Like I played in. I was looking today. I was looking to see what like the top 10 coldest games, because I thought one of the games I played in was one of the top 10, and now it's been pushed out. But then when it popped up, I played in the hottest game in NFL history. So that one was funny. So it just, it's neat to watch. But because I'm a Chiefs fan and an Eagles fan, that's what's in the news cycle. And like like that, like two people in their 30s dating shouldn't be in the news cycle. Like they should be talking about like a million other things, other stories more
Yeah.
so than just two mid-30s lovers trying to find. Taylor Swift's probably dated a million dudes. I saw like the list of boyfriends she's had. It's like it's pretty amazing. Kind of dated everybody, and then there's Kelsey. So I'm like, we'll probably get married. She should get knocked up, and they should get married next, like as soon as the season ends. That would probably
Yeah.
set the internet on fire.
That would break the internet. You
Oh my
know,
god.
I loved the Chiefs when Joe Montana went there.
Yeah.
And I loved when Christian Okoye was the running
Yeah.
back there.
Yeah. The Nigerian
Um,
nightmare.
yeah, man. And I loved when you were there and Larry was the running back and
Oh yeah.
um,
Yeah. No,
Derek Thomas, man.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, DT was a beast, man. He,
He was a beast.
and then tragically dies going to the Super Bowl with black ice, which is a very real deal in Kansas City. So yeah, pretty
Yep,
sad deal.
pretty sad deal. Um, before I go into one of the last questions, I'm really curious in your thought on this.